Good morning everyone. My name is Abhay Singh and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of The Hindu. Today is 21st of July 2024 and we'll start with the first news headline for the day. So I have changed a bit of format for this news analysis. Till date we used to have the analysis of the international edition, but with the time I have realized that most of you don't have the access of international edition because you get this offline copy of the same. You get the offline copy of the same. That's why you don't have the access to. That's why you don't have the access to the international edition. Now, for the same reason I have decided that I'll be doing the analysis of this city edition. So with this, we'll start with the first news headline for the day, and the first news headline for the day is that Bangladesh deploys army as unrest toll rises to 133. So there are protests going on in Bangladesh because of an anti-quota protest. There is an anti-quota protest that is going on in Bangladesh, and because of that specific protest, till date, in last 1 week, 133 people have lost their life. There is a curfew in whole of the Bangladesh. There is a curfew in whole of the Bangladesh. There are restrictions in Bangladesh to curb these situations, and many of Indians have requested that they should be evacuated from the Bangladesh because situation is getting worse day by day. Now coming on to the second important news headline for the day, and the second important news headline for the day is related to NEET. The second news headline is related to NEET. Now, there was an analysis, there was a presentation of data in Supreme Court, and when this data was analyzed, it was found out that most of the people who have scored more than 650, and out of those people who have scored 650 marks, there are there is 30,000 students. There are 30,204 students who have scored more than 650 marks in NEET 2024. And out of these 30,204 students, 2,037 students from the Sikar district of Rajasthan. So this is a kind of a cluster which was created in Rajasthan, Sikar. So again, there are few eyes that are, that are raising questions, that are raising eyebrows over this specific data, because this data is, kind of shocking, that more than 6% students are from single district, and in India there are more than 600 districts. So we have to analyze that why there is a cluster in Sikar district of Rajasthan and government will analyze this specific data, and court will also look at this particular data set which is presented by NEET in the Supreme Court of India. Now moving on to the third important news headline for the day. This is a city edition. So we'll be seeing more ads and more advertisement, more classified ads. So we will be skipping those ads and we will focus on only important points. Now, BJP seeks white paper on use of central funds to tackle pollution. Now this is important. We should understand what is the meaning of a white paper. So white paper is basically a paper in which when in that particular paper specific solution is discussed for a specific problem. So this is a white paper, and BJP will present a white paper for the use of the central funds to tackle pollution. Now BJP will present two white papers. One is related to Delhi and another one is related to Jharkhand. For Jharkhand, the white paper will be presented for the population data. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. This is also a political news. Bharti moves High Court against Bansuri Swaraj election. So basically, Aam Aadmi Party's MLA, Mr. Somnath Bharti, he has stated that he has basically filed a petition in the High Court against the Bansuri Swaraj election. His claim is that Ms. Swaraj has violated so many election codes, so many rules, that his candidature or his election should be cancelled. This is one important news that is coming all the way from Delhi. Mr. Somnath Bharti has filed a petition against the Member of Parliament, Ms. Bansuri Swaraj, and the petition is filed for the reason that Mr. Bharti is claiming that Mr. Bharti is claiming that Ms. Swaraj has violated so many rules during the election, so her candidature should be cancelled. Now, moving on to the next important news headline for the day. Again, I have already discussed this, that this is a city edition, so there will be lot of classified ads, and we'll be skipping those ads. Again, so classified ads, all classified ads. Again, another advertisement related to Uttarakhand. Airline system working normally after global IT outage, says aviation minister. So this news is also very important for us to understand. There was a global outrage. There was a global outrage um, because Microsoft wasn't working properly. But again, we have to understand one thing, that the systems which are present in a large organizations, the Microsoft systems, that the Microsoft software that are being used by large corporations, they were severely affected by this particular outage. Whole world was stopped by this particular outrage. The flights were not taking place normally because everything is working on the Microsoft system, and Microsoft system was attacked. Not attacked, actually, there was a software upgrade. There was a software upgrade, and because of that software upgrade, a certain kind of glitch happened, and because of that particular glitch, the whole of the Microsoft system stopped working in entire world. So because of this particular glitch, India was affected very badly. Our aviation industry was affected very badly. We have to deal with everything manually. There were writings on the board. There were whiteboards on every airport, and on those whiteboards, everything was written. It felt like that we are living in 1970s, 1980s, not 2024. So we have to understand technology is very important for us. But again, we are so much dependent on technology that one single outrage has caused so much of the problem. So this is one important news. Now we are moving to the next important news headline for the day. Next important news headline for the day. Two different income tests to decide creamy layer among OBC candidates. A series of contradictory positions taken over the past few years has obscured how the union government determines which candidates from the other backward class communities can be allowed to claim reservation for jobs in civil services. When the OBC quota was introduced in 1993, so after the judgment of Indra Sawhney versus Union of India, this judgment was delivered in the year 1992. This specific judgment was given by a 9 judges bench, and in this particular case, Indra Sawhney versus Union of India, Supreme Court has clearly stated that the entire reservation cannot exceed more than 50%, but there are certain exceptional situations when this bar can be breached. So one exception was created in this particular case, Indra Sawhney versus Union of India, and this particular mark has been breached only once in Indian history, when Government of India Act brought economically weaker section reservation for economically weaker sections by virtue of 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, after this particular judgment, the OBC quota was introduced in 1993, and this particular quota, and after the introduction of OBC quota, a guiding charter was created to exclude candidates whose families had accumulated certain social and economic privileges over the years, known as the creamy layer. This will then allow reservation benefits only for those declared as non-creamy layer or NCL candidates based on several criteria, including a crucial income or wealth test. So basically, there was a kind of charter which was created for the different candidates who wants to claim the benefits of the OBC reservation. So the main basis of giving this particular reservation, the main basis of creating this creamy layer and creamy layer thing, basically there are certain people in the society who have already achieved certain kind of social status. They have the wealth to support the coming generation. So basically the idea of the main idea behind creation of this creamy layer and non-creamy layer thing was that the candidates who have already availed the benefits, who have already all this sort of resources, they won't get the benefit of this particular scheme. So that's why this particular concept creamy layer and non-creamy layer was introduced. Now it has emerged that the Department of Personnel and Training has been applying two different income tests to differentiate to different categories of OBC candidates. The tangle of regulations governing the OBC quota has come into the spotlight with the current row over Pooja Khedkar, whose OBC NCL certificate has come under scrutiny. Given that she is a medical doctor and her father is a retired civil servant who contested the recent Lok Sabha election, filing a candidate affidavit which valued his assets at over rupees 40 crore, questions have arisen about how she could be given non-creamy layer status. In the wake of this case, several OBC candidates have taken to social media to highlight how they were denied reservation benefits because of irregularities in the application of the income test. So basically, this income test was developed in the year 1993 when this particular OBC quota was introduced, and a whole guiding charter was also introduced. after the introduction of OBC quota. And there were various candidates who they are claiming that Union Public Service Commission or Department of Personnel and Training DOPT has used two different income tests for providing benefits. The Department of Personnel and Training 1993 charter had declared some OBC families ineligible based on their occupations. Thus, children of people in constitutional posts, senior central and state government employees, members of the armed forces and property owners supposedly could not get OBC quota for civil services. Exceptions were carved out of these exclusions. For instances, children of MPs and MLAs, government officials who have been promoted and not hired into senior positions, owners of unirrigated agricultural land and others are all now eligible for OBC quota subject to parental annual income limit of rupees 8 lakh or the prescribed wealth test. So basically there were certain exceptions which were created for the candidates who have a different sort of background. Now these candidates are basically the children of MPs, MLAs, government officials who have been promoted not hired. So what is this meaning that they are promoted not hired? So basically this particular line means that कि आपने स्टार्ट कहां से किया था. अगर आप उस पोजीशन पे एंटर किए कि आप ऑलरेडी क्लास 1 ऑफिसर हैं देन इट्स फाइन, बट अगर आप प्रमोट होकर के वहां पे पहुंचे हैं तो आप पे ये पर्टिकुलर रूल एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा. अनइरिगेटेड एग्रीकल्चर लैंड के जो ओनर्स हैं इन सारे लोगों को ओबीसी कोटा का बेनिफिट मिलेगा, बट कंडीशन सिर्फ एक है कि इनकी फैमिली एनुअल इनकम 8 लाख रुपीस से ज्यादा नहीं होनी चाहिए और या तो इन लोगों को जो प्रिस्क्राइब्ड वेल्थ टेस्ट है उसके अंदर ये लोग फॉल करने चाहिए. However, the DOPT has discriminated in terms of how this income test is applied. So the main question was that the Department of Personnel and Training has applied this particular test in terms of this particular test was applied differently on different candidates. Now only the exempted cases mentioned above are allowed to exclude their parents' salaries and agricultural income from the prescribed limit. For other OBC candidates whose parents are salaried professionals, business owners, farmers or simply not part of the initial exclusions, the rupees 8 lakh limit includes parental salaries. The DOPT explained these dual standards in October 2020 affidavit filed in Supreme Court. Now this seems to contradict what the Social Justice Ministry told Parliament in December 2019, that there is only one income test for OBC candidates which excludes income from salaries and agriculture. So basically the Ministry of Social Justice in Parliament in 2019 has clearly stated that there is only one test for providing the benefits of OBC reservation, and Department of Personnel and Training has created two tests. One is basically for the candidates which will not get the benefits, like the candidates whose parents are in civil services or if they are class 1 officers or so these are the candidates which will not get the benefit of OBC quota. But Department of Personnel Training has made a second category as well, and this category was children of MPs, MLAs, government officials who have been hired, who have been hired, not selected. So moving on to the next important news headline for the day. This is important. So we have discussed this again. BJP will issue white paper on Jharkhand population. So this is again related to this white paper. We have to focus on the white paper. The main thing in this particular article is white paper, presentation of white paper by the Bharatiya Janata Party. So moving on to the next important news headline for the day. We have already discussed what white paper is on the first page as only. So basically there is a report, there is a report published in the academic journal Science Advances, and in that particular report it was claimed that during COVID-19 India has given a false data about the deaths of the people during COVID-19. Government has clearly stated that there are only 5.3 lakh deaths related to novel coronavirus, and this particular study is presenting that an excess mortality of about 11.9 lakh deaths. So basically this particular report is claiming that in India the actual data was 5.3 lakh, but the actual data which was presented by the ministry was 5.3 lakh, but this data has a deficit of 11.9 lakhs. So basically in India there is this claim that 17 lakh 20,000 people have lost their life, but the ministry has clearly stated that only 5.3 lakh people have died during COVID-19, and the government has clearly rejected this particular report. And also in this particular report, it was said that the average age of Indians have been reduced by over 2 years. During COVID-19, the average age of Indians have been reduced by over 2 years because of various conditions. Because of the various conditions, the average age was reduced by more than 2 years. So this is the data which was presented. This was the data which was presented in academic journal Science Advances. And government has clearly refuted this particular report and has said that the actual data was correct and there was only 5.3 lakh deaths during COVID-19. Now related to COVID-19, one important information: the vaccine which we all know, Covishield. This particular vaccine was manufactured by AstraZeneca in collaboration with Oxford University. And in India, Serum Institute of India, which is headquartered at Pune, has manufactured this particular vaccine. Now there are various side effects of this particular vaccine, especially TTS, thrombosis from thrombocytopenia. Now what is thrombosis from thrombocytopenia? Thrombosis is basically when your blood clots. And what is thrombocytopenia? Thrombocytopenia is reduction in the or low count of blood platelets. So basically this is second important news. And third important news is related to the second vaccine which was given to Indians, that is Covaxin. Now Covaxin was produced by Bharat Biotech in collaboration with ICMR, Indian Council for Medical Research. So basically these are the two reports which are also important for us, that one is related to Covaxin and another is related to Covishield. Now basically Covaxin has a problem. Now Covaxin in itself doesn't have a problem. Initially it was said that Bharat Biotech in collaboration with ICMR has developed this specific vaccine, but when a paper was presented in European some journal in Europe, the Bharat Biotech has clearly stated that the scientist of Bharat Biotech has produced this specific vaccine. They did not give any credit to ICMR. So these are the two important events which are related to corona virus. Now moving on to the next important, this is the business section. There is nothing important in the business section as of now. So basically this particular article is very important. We have already discussed it in the classrooms as well. Now this particular article is related to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report. World Economic Forum's Global Gender Report, and in this particular report India was ranked 129 out of 146 countries, 146 economies. With the decline in the education sector being one of the reasons for India's rank slipping a couple of places this year. So basically the main reason why we have gone down. So the main reason is that India has performed poor in this year in the education sector. That's why our rank has slipped to 129 out of 146 economies. This particular report is presented by World Economic Forum. This particular report has all sort of data which we can have. So for example, they have only been modestly increasing, and gap between men and women's literacy rate is 17.2 percentage points wide, leaving India ranked 144th on this indicator. The 18th edition of the report recording a score of 0.964 in the education category. So basically this was the 18th edition of this particular report which is presented by World Economic Forum, and this particular report is raising serious questions on the education system of India, because education is responsible for the India's rank going down to 129 out of 146 economies. Now this is important, this news is very important. Basically this is related to the Karnataka state employment of local candidates in the industries, factories and other establishment bill 2024. So basically this particular bill has an objective, and that objective was to provide reservation for Kannadigas in the private sector in the state. So basically Bangalore is known as the Silicon Valley of India. Lot of private companies are based there. In Bangalore. So now the government of Karnataka, has decided that we will make a rule that if any company wants to work in Karnataka, then they have to provide a minimum 50% of reservation, or they have to reserve 50% of seats for Kannadigas in managerial post and 70% seats for Kannadigas in non-managerial post. So this particular bill was passed by the Karnataka cabinet ministry, but again this bill was not tabled on the floor of state legislature. Before this bill could be tabled on the state legislature, there was a lot of hue and cry, and because of this hue and cry, this particular bill was put on hold. Now let's look at some of the specifications. Local candidate. Now these seats are reserved for the local candidates of the Karnataka. Now what is the definition of local candidate? Local candidate is defined as anyone born in Karnataka. So the first criteria or the first criteria for being a local of Karnataka is that you should be born in Karnataka. You should be a domiciled in Karnataka. Now anyone born in Karnataka, first criteria, or domiciled for at least 15 years in the state. या तो आप कर्नाटका में पैदा हुए हो या आप कर्नाटका में 15 साल से रह रहे हो और आप कन्नड़ा लिख सकते हैं और पढ़ सकते हैं, तभी आपको माना जाएगा कि यू आर अ लोकल कैंडिडेट. Candidates not possessing a secondary school certificate with Kannada as a language must pass a Kannada proficiency test prescribed by a nodal agency. So if you do not have a secondary school certificate with Kannada as a compulsory language, then you have to pass a compulsory proficiency test which is prescribed by the nodal agency. Then you can be called as a local candidate. Now, where qualified or suitable candidates are not available, the bill gives 3 years to the establishment to train and engage local candidates. So now, this bill was so grave. This bill has grave implications because in this particular bill it was clearly stated that if the company, if the authority is not getting suitable candidates, then they will be given a 3 years time. They have to hire the candidates, they have to teach them, they have to train them, and after that specific training, they will be recruited. They may also apply to the government for relaxation norms, but the relaxation cannot be less than 25% for management categories and 50% for non-management category. So basically, if companies are not getting any candidates, if companies are not getting any desired candidates, then they can ask for the relaxation, and the relaxation is 25% for managerial post and 50% for non-managerial post. So this bill was absurd. This bill is absurd because everything is fine, everything is correct. We cannot question the intentions of the government, but again we can question one thing. If we will make these kind of compulsory rules, how companies will survive and thrive in Karnataka? Because Karnataka is known as the Silicon Valley of India, and we all understand that it won't take much of the time to shift all the focus from Karnataka to any other part of the country. We are already witnessing it that how the production is shifting from China to India. So we have to manage these kind of things, and these kind of things are very important. Kannadigas are very important. Kannadigas are very important part of our culture, our Indian diversity. We respect the government's intention, but again, the repercussion of this decision on the production cycle and on the services on the different companies is huge. That's why this particular bill could not be tabled in state legislature, and this particular bill was put on hold. Now moving on to the next important news headline for the day. So we are moving into international section in today's newspaper. So Mr. Donald Trump have a conversation with the president of यूक्रेन वोलोदिमीर जेलेंस्की. अब जेलेंस्की के साथ इस कॉल पे बेसिकली ट्रम्प ने एक चीज मेक श्योर किया है कि वर्ल्ड में बहुत जल्दी पीस स्टैब्लिश हो. एंड आई एम ऑफ द ओपिनियन दैट व्हेन Donald Trump will be elected as the president of United States of America, the first big thing that will happen, that Russia-Ukraine war will end. And this war should end now because there are more than 29 months since the beginning of this war. The war began in February 2022, and more than 2 years have elapsed, and this particular war is still continuing. We can see two news items simultaneously, that Trump speaks with Zelensky, says he will bring peace to the world, and adjacent to this particular news, 6 dead, 3 injured as Russia continues to Ukraine strikes. So we are not the stakeholders, then that's why we are not understanding the impact of this particular war. But again, the people of Ukraine and Russia have suffered a lot because of this particular war. More than 100,000 people have lost their life till date. So this is a huge number. 1 lakh people have lost their life because of a war. There are a lot of international institutions which are working to, which were established to bring peace in the world. But again, we have to understand one thing, that this war is going on for too long. The impact can be seen on the world economy as well. So we have to stop this war, and I strongly believe Mr. Donald Trump will help in solving this particular problem. Now we are coming to sports section. Sports section में अभी आप लोग को मैं एक चीज एडवाइस कर रहा हूँ. 26 ऑफ जुलाई 2024 से न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना स्टार्ट कर दीजिएगा। स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन ऑलरेडी मतलब स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन में एटलीस्ट पढ़िएगा। अब स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन आप लोग क्यों पढ़िएगा? स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन सिर्फ आपको इसलिए पढ़ना है क्योंकि ओलंपिक स्टार्ट होने वाले हैं। 117 एथलीट्स जा रहे हैं इंडिया की तरफ से परफॉर्म करने। अब अगर कोई एथलीट किसी भी तरीके का मेडल जीतता है तो हमें उसके पूरे बैकग्राउंड के बारे में पता होना चाहिए, किस स्पोर्ट्स को वो खेल रहा था, किस कैटेगरी में वो खेल रहा था, कौन सा मेडल मिला है, क्या इंडिया में पहले किसी उस स्पोर्ट्स में मेडल मिला है किसी को। तो ये सारी चीजें हमें देखनी होंगी। नाउ मूविंग ऑन। Let's see. It's all about Olympics now. Again, advertisement. अमूल अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया। So yeah, with this we have completed the news analysis of 21st of July 2024 and again संडे को बहुत कम रेलेवेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन रहता है न्यूज़पेपर में क्योंकि एडिटोरियल नहीं आता है। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज टेक्स्ट एंड कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आज कुछ रेलेवेंट था नहीं, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा रेलेवेंट नहीं था। और ये सिटी एडिशन है, सिटी एडिशन में वैसे भी क्या रहता है, एडवर्टीजमेंट, क्लासिफाइड एड्स, ये सब चीजें ज्यादा रहती हैं। तो इसीलिए आज का जो न्यूज एनालिसिस था वो थोड़ा सा जल्दी खत्म हो गया। ठीक है, सो विद दिस आई विल एंड टुडेज वीडियो एनालिसिस एंड आई रिक्वेस्ट एवरीवन कि जब जागो तभी सवेरा एकदम सही हिंदी का फ्रेज यूज किया गया है। बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि अगर आप रात में 11 बजे सो करके उठेंगे तो आपके लिए तब भी सवेरा होगा। द पॉइंट इज कि अगर टाइम रहते अगर आपको एक अच्छा डिसीजन अपने कैरियर के लिए ले सकते हैं तो प्लीज ले लीजिए, वो टाइम अभी है। कल का वेट मत करिए, कल कभी नहीं आता, हम सबको पता है कल कभी नहीं आया है आज तक। तो अभी से पढ़ना स्टार्ट कर दीजिए। सक्सेस मंत्रा की तरफ से आपको बेस्ट विशेष हैं। जितने लोग भी ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं या जितने लोग भी ये वीडियो देखेंगे, सबको सक्सेस मंत्रा की तरफ से बहुत ज़्यादा बेस्ट विशेष हैं। आप लोग प्लीज़ अपनी पढ़ाई लिखाई स्टार्ट करिए। अगर किसी तरीके का कोई भी क्वेश्चन रहता है सक्सेस मंत्रा की टीम को आप रीच आउट कर सकते हैं। अगर आपको इस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल में या इस पर्टिकुलर न्यूज़ एनालिसिस वीडियो में अगर कहीं पे कोई भी दिक्कत है तो आप कमेंट सेक्शन में उसका उस चीज़ को पंच इन कर सकते हैं, आपको उसका भी आंसर मिल जाएगा। लास्ट वीडियो में एक स्टूडेंट ने कमेंट किया था, इट वाज अबाउट द Article 109 clause 5 of the Indian Constitution. Article 109 clause 5 of the Indian Constitution. And what is Article 109 clause 5 of the Indian Constitution? So basically this particular article talks about कि अगर लोकसभा से कोई बिल राज्यसभा में आएगा तो राज्यसभा सिर्फ उसे अपने पास 14 दिन तक ही रख सकता है। ठीक है, so on this note I will end today's video analysis. Thank you so much for watching today's video analysis and we wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Thank you so much.